Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's JB and today I'm going to be giving you all the information that you need on how to play Mythra in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Like in my last video on how to play Pyra, I will not be talking about the down B button or Pyra at all in this video, so if you're interested in Pyra, check out my other video. It will be linked in the description down below. And everything else from that video also applies in this one, such as all damage calculations and things were done on Bowser from center stage, and everything along the lines of that. But let's jump right into it. Let's just start though with stating the obvious differences. Mythra is a lot quicker than what Pyra is, but deals a lot less damage and knockback on the majority of her moves. However, other than her specials, all of their primary moves, so smashes, aerials, etc., are all exactly the same. But because of the lower knockback and higher speed, Mythra is able to do a lot of combos and a lot of things that Pyra can only dream of. But let's start running through these moves, starting with Jab. It's a decent move for what it does. Compared to Pyra's Jab, it's a bit faster, and it's pretty effective for both reasons of either dealing damage or getting other opponents out of your face. However, unlike in the Pyra video, I actually prefer the multi-jab on Mythra compared to the normal standard 1-2-3 hit combo on Mythra's normal jab, as the multi-jab seems to do more for me in most circumstances, being able to deal on average more damage, and it still gets the opponent far enough away if that's what I want to do at the same time. And next up we have forward tilt, which is actually, in my opinion, a much better move. The angle at which this move sends is really nice for effective combos, popping the opponent up, allowing for a nice follow-up with either nair or forward air to start a nice combo. Granted, it won't be very effective within a combo, but for starting it off, it's a pretty decent move, and it will be pretty effective for a long time as the knockback is rather low. Be slightly careful with spacing it, however, because Mythra's sword isn't quite as big as some might expect, and so it can be sometimes a little easy to whiff. Anyways, moving on to one of the two moves that have the sweet spot is down tilt. This was Pyra's combo move, but is an even better combo move for Mythra. Both the sweet and sour spot both have decent potential. However, at high percent, the sweet spot's combo potential does diminish quite a bit, so at 100% plus, go for the sour spot, as you should still be well in the range to be able to get decent follow-ups, which tend to be for a move like this, either up airs or something else. The sweet spot compared to the sour spot as well doesn't deal a lot more damage comparatively for the character, so in most cases I'd say the sour spot's the better option to go for, which remember is the hilt of the sword, not the tip. And now to finish off the tilts is up tilt. That same swipe above a head that most sword fighters tend to love. It is extremely quick, and again, like the majority of Mythra's moves, is a great combo tool. Fantastic at low percents for juggling an opponent and being able to string it into pretty much any aerial, and with its speed is just excellent overall to be able to deal high amounts of damage quickly. But this move especially means that all of Mythra's tilts are excellent for starting combos and provide her with a great deal of versatility for mix-ups, as your opponent's going to have to guess which one of these moves you're going to use to initiate the combo. So yeah, it's pretty good. Next up anyways is dash attack, which is arguably Mythra's worst move. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad, it's pretty quick, it deals decent damage, but it has too much lag at the end of it to be able to follow up with anything. Doesn't kill at any reasonable percents to be useful, and thus it's just a move which kind of exists, which is just meh. If you hit it and deal extra damage, bonus, good enough, serves the purpose that it's doing, but you won't really be able to get much out of it other than that. In most cases, it'll be better to use forward tilt or forward air or some other one of our amazing moves to do whatever job you want dash attack to do. And now to finish off the grounded moves, we have the smash attacks, and starting starting off with forward smash. Compared to a lot of other forward smashes, it's pretty quick, although the power does leave a lot to be desired. Although what's not really known, and was shown in the last video and should be shown at some point through this video, is that the sword has a hitbox as the sword moves over Pyra and Mythra's head, and doesn't just start once the sword hits the ground. And as I mentioned in the previous video, other than dash attack and down tilt, none of these moves have a sweet and sour spot, so the power is exactly the same at the beginning of the forward smash there compared to the end of the forward smash once the sword hits the ground. There's also not too much lag in terms of the move as well, so it can be pretty safe just to space out and use a little bit more often. As I'll talk about later in the video, there's a move which is much more ideal in almost every situation to use instead of this. Next up is up smash, and this is the smash attack that I recommend using the most. As an overall kill percentage, it is slightly weaker than forward smash in terms of damage and actual kill power. However, the hitbox lingers for much longer. On taller characters, even the lingering hitbox can hit at any point, and even if the move doesn't kill, it will provide you with follow-up opportunities, whereas forward smash in almost all circumstances will send the opponent too far away from you to get any meaningful follow-up. Whereas if the opponent's in the air, that will grant you opportunities to move in with your aerials and rack up more damage and potentially secure a KO. It is a multi-hit, however, so watch out for DI and opponents falling out of it, which I think is just the standard thing now for multi-hit things in Smash Brothers. And the final smash attack, down smash. It's still not great, and it's still obsoleted by neutral special, which again we'll talk about in a little bit. However, compared to Pyra's version of this down smash, it is a little better, purely for the simple case of there isn't as much lag at the end of it, and it does come out pretty quickly, which means that it can be a pretty useful move to catch someone recovering above the ledge as an example, because of its speed, and it's not going to leave you vulnerable at all with it having much lower lag. Something I forgot to mention last time as well is the hitbox actually hits 4 times, or there's 4 hitboxes. Mythra's sword starts on the front of the hitbox, but does swipe again behind her afterwards. I am unaware if this is the same power, weaker, stronger, etc. But as far as what I can tell from looking at the hitboxes, it looks like the exact same power as the forward facing hitbox. And as a sword goes behind her, her foot, which starts behind her, also goes in front for the lingering hitbox afterwards. So if your opponent mistimes their attack or you mistime it, you've still got that potential hitbox to hit as well. So it's a little bit better, but still obsolete. But we're going to leave the specials just for now and start off with the aerials, and primarily neutral air. It's another multi-hit neutral air, and I'm happy to say that in my opinion, I think it's pretty good. It, for the most part, when I was playing with Mythra and learning her playstyle, was the primary combo aerial that I tended to use, because it allowed me to carry my opponent to where I wanted them to be, and then suit them up with whatever follow-up I wanted to perform. Because of the length of the hitbox as well, it's pretty effective for catching opponents as well in different places, and because of the lack of landing lag, it can allow for some pretty decent follow-ups. But I'm not the best at combos in the first place, so there might be some better options for it out of what I can perform. And next up is forward air, which is a completely amazing combo tool in the air. As at low percents and sort of mid percents, it can quite comfortably combo into itself, and is one of the main moves that you should be chucking out to approach as well, similar to Pyra, as it being able to string into itself and combo makes it fantastic, especially for racking up damage quickly. Back air again is their most powerful aerial, however it's still not particularly useful for KOing, as it still kills at a ridiculously high percentage. Again, it's a bit more of a combo move, but you can't really use it as much as, because there's a lot more landing lag when landing with the move, and you can't spam it as easily. But it is potentially possible to use it as a combo starter to lead into other aerials after landing. Up air is the same ridiculous move that you get on Pyra, but it's even better here, with even less landing lag, a much quicker swing of the sword, and because of the even lower knockback, it's even better for getting lots of follow-ups and dealing high amounts of damage in large combos. It is, however, difficult from my experience to follow up with an up special afterwards. So potentially it might be something that's better to use on a battlefield stage with platforms to keep the strings going for longer than on a flat stage such as Final Destination, of course. And then for the final area, we have down air. It unfortunately doesn't spike like Pyra's, however you might find some use out of some of the lingering hitboxes from it for, again, more combos. It doesn't have particularly much kill power either, so you can't really use it as much of a kill move, and there's also quite a bit of lag compared to all of Mythra's other aerials when landing with it, so it's not the most safe to get yourself back on stage. But there's probably going to be some hitbox in there which will mean that you can get large strings into other moves. So play around and let me know in the comments if you find anything. But that's all the aerials, and now it's time for the specials. The moves that turn Mythra from being an average character to arguably being the best character in the game. By far. We're going to start with neutral special, Lightning Buster.
ホムラとの大きな違いは前方に集中した攻撃であること。
So that was a fucking lie.
So yeah, Lightning Buster can actually hit behind you, and is arguably Mythra's best move. It's extremely strong when fully charged, hits both sides of you, meaning it replaces your down smash because it kills a lot earlier. It has an active hitbox whilst charging, and has invincibility frames. This move alone covers practically every option at the ledge. Simply charge, and the charging hitbox will catch any opponent who tries to jump over you. If they get up attack, release the attack and hit them back with your invincibility frames. If they try and roll past you, there's the hitbox behind you which will drag them to the front of the move and yet again kill them. And the only chance they have at actually getting off their ledge is jumping down and trying to attack you as you move back on stage. But wait a minute, you're still invincible if you time it right. So you can practically cover all ledge get-ups, and you don't even need to fully charge it to get the invincibility frames, the hitbox behind you, and for it to kill at a reasonable percent, considering you're at the edge of the stage already. The above hitbox as well drags into the front move, so anybody on a ledge as you charge it beneath them will also be dragged into the attack. Seriously, I can just keep going on about how incredible Lightning Buster is. There's also, when fully charged, 2 invincibility segments, one that's 7 frames, one that's 6 frames, which just adds even more utility to the move. The only downside is it has a reasonable amount of lag, so in theory if the opponent holds onto the ledge and times out the move, then I guess that's a way round it, but they'll have to attack in that short window whilst you're in recovery. But seriously, this move should be used for pretty much everything, and it's by far your best way to secure KOs. And from one incredible move to another, Side B. This time Sakurai wasn't lying, because Side B does have a decent amount of lag, and if you've watched Most Valuable Gaming's video, he mentioned how the best way to counter pretty much Side B is just to shield through it and the lag, and you'll then be able to punish. Unfortunately, that's not always the case, as did you know that Side B is actually, in certain circumstances, unblockable? That's right, there is an unblockable hitbox on the final slash of Side B, which means you could shield the entire move and it will all be for naught. In the background gameplay, you should be able to see me playing with 2 controllers holding shield with Bowser. The shield button is held down the entire time, and as I side B, I hit through the shield. Don't get me wrong, there is still the possibility that the move can be blocked, as it's only a particular hitbox, which if I can get on screen now I will do to show you the hitbox, which I believe it is, which you've got to make sure hits, else it won't go through the shield. But again, this is a fantastic move, especially for recovery and being able to build up and rack up high amounts of damage really quickly. However, be careful, any opponent with a projectile will be able to knock you out of side B rather easily. Invisible to the eye, Mythra actually just moves in a straight line, so any projectile moved in her path will take her straight out of side B and deal damage. But that does mean for any opponent without a projectile, it's pretty much free reign, as you deal high amounts of damage and pretty much take control of the entire stage. It's also a pretty effective recovery move as well, as it's pretty difficult to interrupt when you're using it to recover, unless again your opponent has a projectile to interrupt the move. It's also important to note as well, the move does put you into free fall, so be careful when using it near the ledge or off stage. And finally we have Upbeat, Ray of Punishment and Chroma Dust. These aren't as ridiculous as the previous two specials, but they're still not bad. Both Ray of Punishment and Chroma Dust are pretty effective for guarding the ledge of someone who's recovering, and they're pretty good moves for gimping as well. Again, as Sakurai mentioned in his Sakurai Presents, Ray of Punishment has more range but is a single projectile, whilst Chroma Dust spreads out in the arc but has less range. Specifically, Chroma Dust will just hit the floor, so it's usually best with Chroma Dust to run off the stage and up B and use Chroma Dust that way around to hit below the ledge at the same time, else you might miss most opponents. On the ground, however, it's usually better to use Ray of Punishment, as not only does the initial contact with the projectile deal damage, but if the projectile hits the ground as well, it then has a small explosion hitbox, which deals very minor damage to your opponent, but can be pretty good as a projectile just for spacing and things like that. The primary disadvantage of this projectile though is it will always put you into free fall, which means that if you miss, you're probably going to get punished and dealt a lot of damage to real quick. So be rather careful when facing someone and you wanting to use these projectiles. It's usually only best to use them whilst they're off stage or they're away from you. But they could be pretty good in a double scenario. And now we're just going to quickly finish with the grabs. There's honestly not a lot of information to actually give on all of them. Mythra's Pummel is exactly the same as Pyra, deals the same damage and takes the exact same amount of frames. Mythra's Back Throw is even weaker than Pyra's, taking a ridiculously long time to kill, and the remaining throws are basically all the same in terms of the same purposes. Down throw is the strongest, and then both forward throw, up throw, back throw, they're all really just combo throws, which is the main purpose, dealing less damage than Pyra's. And now for some miscellaneous bits of information. I'll start in the same place as the Pyra video, which is their weight. Mythra is actually slightly lighter than Pyra for whatever reason, considering they're technically the same person, just an alternate personality. But no, she's a bit lighter, so she will die a little bit easier and get KO'd a bit easier compared to Pyra, so you do need to be careful on that front. But obviously she's a lot faster in terms of her movement speed, both in the air and on the ground, although in the air it is less noticeable. And then finally, let's talk about her final smash. It deals a hefty amount of damage. However, each individual projectile deals its own separate damage, which means that the damage you might deal to opponents can be a little bit inconsistent. And so when hitting multiple people in a final smash, the damage also won't be equal across all of them. So you might get lucky enough to defeat everybody in one hit with the positioning, or vice versa. But overall, it's still a pretty powerful final smash, and it still kills pretty early. If you can hit this near the ledge, your opponents are still going to have a tough time. And if you're in doubles or playing a free-for-all with multiple people, the area effect of the attack could be pretty effective for catching other opponents in the final smash as well. So it's pretty good. And that's all for this video, folks. If you've enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe down below and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of my future content which I'm going to be bringing to you via the channel. I hope you've all enjoyed. Until next time, peace.